Hi everyone, blessings and namaste. Today I wanted to, after not posting a video for a very long time, share with you a book that has been occupying my awareness. It's called The New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. It's Awakening to Your Life Purpose. I've come across a lot of people, and I believe that this generation, and even the ones before, we have been asking ourselves for many years, what is my life purpose? Throughout this book, Eckhart Tolle speaks about many things that I was not aware of. I had a notion of it, but I really didn't understand it. I really didn't grasp it fully. But this book, right here, just don't want to lose my space. I'm almost done reading it. And as you can see, I'll show you. I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've highlighted a lot of it. So I guess maybe this is a commentary, or I don't know how you would call it, a review of the book itself. I recommend it to anyone who feels like they've started the process of awakening, the process of awareness of your inner consciousness. And not so much because when you're still, then you become aware of your consciousness, but you don't. I know, it's very perplexed, but it does happen that way. Like, for instance, if you've ever looked at yourself in the mirror and you thought to yourself, man, the person looking back at me, I know it's me, but it's not me. Like, you can see your spirit. I know, it happened to me, and it was strange. But I know that it's happened to a lot more people who are on the path of awakening. There's several steps in this book that Edgar talks about. He mentions Jesus a lot. I'm a Christian, so that's very helpful for me. I believe Jesus is one of the best teachers there is to the process of becoming one with the consciousness, which is God. A lot of people call it the universe, they call it the vortex, they call it consciousness. He's my Father. He's the creator of all, the one who poured his breath into my lungs and sparked consciousness inside of me and inside of every human being that's on this planet. So one of the things that resonated with me was he spoke a lot about the ego. And being a psychology major, the ego is expressed in psychology, especially during interpersonal relationships, sociology, things like that. You guys already might know that when the ego is provoked or feels threatened, that it lashes out in what it does best, which is bringing in energy of anger, resentment, jealousy, fear, things that are not of us. Spirit. Spirit is just love, and where there's love, there's no jealousy, there's no anger, there's no hate. There's pure thought, that pure consciousness. So he speaks a lot about the ego in this book. He gives you examples of how to become aware of the ego. For instance, here it says, if you are alert enough, you may be able to detect some of these unconscious patterns within yourself. Demanding recognition for something you did and getting angry or upset if you don't get it. That's the ego. Trying to get attention by talking about your problems, the story of your illness, or making a scene, giving your opinion when nobody has asked for it and makes no difference to the situation. Being more concerned with how the other person sees you than with the other person, which is to say, using other people for egoic reflection or as ego enhancers. trying to make an impression on others through possessions, knowledge, good looks, status, physical strength, and so on. Bringing about temporary ego inflation through angry reaction against something or someone, taking things personally, feeling offended, making yourself right and others wrong, through futile mental or verbal complaining, wanting to be seen or to appear important. You know, one of Jesus's parables, I think it's called a parable, or his sayings, he was talking about how you have to be humble in order to be exalted. So meaning, like, I think that's how it goes. He was talking about a man who entered a home. He was invited for dinner, and he says that rather than sitting yourself in the front of the table as important, you sit yourself in the back of the dining table, and then you allow the host to say, hey, listen, so and so, come up to the front, sit up front with us, you know, and then that way you will be honored and you will be exalted. So you still remain humble. It's that's basically what he's saying here in this book too, that the ego does not do, which is a way of you recognizing the ego, becoming aware, because awareness is the key. When you are aware, that means that you are technically in the now. Practicing being aware of your breath, becoming conscious of when you take a breath, how it feels when you take a breath, that gap between breathing in and breathing out. I mean, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. The life that we have been given, the ability to experience human existence, it's wonderful. We're all here for the purpose of awakening. We're all here for the purpose of enlightenment, to make Earth or experience it in different ways through learning. This book has been wonderful. There's another one, another excerpt that I highlighted. I mean, I highlighted a bunch, but this one speaks about feminines, or femininity. Okay, I don't know that word. But this is what it says. It says, the suppression of the feminine principle, especially over the past 2,000 years, has enabled the ego to gain absolute supremacy in the collective human psyche. Although women have egos, of course, the ego can take root and grow more easily in the male form than in the female. This is because women are less mind-identified than men. They are more in touch with the inner body and the intelligence of the organism, where the intuitive faculties originate. The female form is less rigidly encapsulated than the male, has greater openness and sensitivity toward other life forms, and is more attuned to the natural world. Natural intuitive people. So, however, he does continue to say that if the balance between male and female energies had not been destroyed on our planet, the ego's growth would have been greatly curtailed. We would not have declared war on nature. We would not be so completely alienated from our being. In the past, as you all know, women practiced witchcraft. They would go out into the forest and they would forage for berries and shrubs and different herbs and mix them together to make healing potions, healing ointments, incense, things like that. And they would pray a lot. Were Christian. They would, I mean, and even not, they believed in God. They believed in Jesus. They believed in the universe. They believed, and yet they were prosecuted. And that is the female energy that we all have. I think all females have that in us. Yes, male too. But as he explains, we are more in tune with nature. All right, I'm derailing from the whole subject of this book, and I appreciate you guys tuning in with me, for me to speak to you about this wonderful book that I think you all should really, really get. It's wonderful. It's really helped me to understand a lot more. I can't wait to finish it, that way I can reread it. It's definitely one of those books that has a lot of information that I suggest that you reread it many, many times. Another thing that he speaks about here, well, he speaks about so many things. He speaks about not minding what happens, and that's difficult. I know for me, I'm practicing that right now as I speak to you guys. I am practicing not minding what's happening, because I've come to realize, and I've surrendered to the notion that I cannot control the situation, because I cannot control other people. I can only control myself. And that, my friends, takes a lot of awareness. Takes a lot of letting go and surrendering to the now. Making the now my best friend. Making the now the only time, because it is. There's no past and there's no future. If you live in the past, you live in depression. If you live in the future, you live in anxiety. If you live in the now, then you're aware, you're conscious, and you're fine. So that's something that he speaks about too, just being happy with the now, and accepting what's going on at this precise moment. It doesn't mean that you can't do something to change it, but that action that you take, it can only be done out of selfishness, right? Yeah, you can't be selfish. And it has to be done because it's something that you can control, not because you're trying to control somebody else, because ultimately that's not love, and it'll backfire on you. The book talks about abundance. It says something here. It says, whatever you think people are withholding from you, praise, appreciation, assistance, loving care, and so on, give it to them. You don't have it, just act as if you do, and it will come to you. Then, soon after you start giving, you will start receiving. You cannot receive what you don't give. That is true. Again, that's something that Jesus says in the Bible. Jesus in the Bible speaks about if somebody asks you, and I'm probably not quoting this correctly, but Jesus in the Bible says if somebody asks you for your cloak, give them that, and give them anything else and everything else. Because the more you give, the more will come back to you. Because ultimately it's energy, and we're all beings of energy. Again, I suggest you really, really pick up this book. I think it's wonderful, even though I'm that much away from finishing it, but nevertheless, I can't wait to do so, that way I can restart it. Once again, thank you very much for tuning in. I will make another video, hopefully very soon, and I can inspire each and everyone to be in this collective journey of humans to awaken. Namaste and blessings.